Welcome to Educare 247. Today we are going to see concept number 3 for CAT concept express series that we are continuing. Alright, today we are going to explore the secrets of parajumbles. Almost 4 questions every year are repeated in PARC section of CAT. 4 questions mean 12 marks. There is no negative marking, so there is no downside of attempting these questions. But usually students fear this because they feel that the probability of getting it right is very less. Alright, because you have to enter the correct sequence. Alright, so there can be a total of 24 possible answers if there are 4 sentences given in a question. If there are 5 given, there can be more combinations, right? So today I'm going to make parajumbles relatively a easy thing for you. Alright, we'll discuss some very good concepts that will fuel your preparation towards VARC section, and you'll find attempting parajumbles a easier job. Alright, so let's get started with this CAT concept series part 3. First and foremost thing is how to crack the perfect code. Alright, so parajumbles come in a code. What happens in parajumbles is they'll give you 4 sentences or 5 sentences and they'll scramble them up. Now we have to form a coherent paragraph. First and foremost thing, what I tell my students is, do you know what is the meaning of coherent? Right? First, you should know what is a coherent and then you should form the paragraph. Most of the students, 99% of the students that we train do not know what is the meaning of coherent paragraph properly. Coherent means it should be a completely singular unit or paragraph. Alright, it should completely fit into each other, the complete paragraph that you are forming. Second, it should make a complete sense. Alright, the paragraph should not be of the type of phrase where meanings are not conveyed properly. And it should start and end properly. Alright, this is what forms a coherent paragraph. You should definitely know this. Now that we understand what is a coherent paragraph, we'll see how we can crack a simple parajumble question. Alright, I'll give you some pointers with the help of which you'll be able to tackle any parajumble question for that matter. Alright, so let's get into it. So as I've already told you, the first step to solving a parajumble question is hunt for the dependent or independent sentences. So usually what I used to do is, if there are say 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences given, I used to write them on my rough paper and write D, D, D and I like this. Alright, if this is an independent sentence, I'll explain you what it means. So if this is an independent sentence, it can be my starter, right? So dependent are sentences which need some sentence before it, or it does not make sense to start with it. These are called dependent sentences, right? Independent sentence is a standalone sentence with which you can start, alright? It completely makes sense on its own. Second point, filter the most generic statement which can be a good starter. Alright, most generic statements are good starters. So after you filter out the idea what the passage is trying to talk about or the sentences are pointing to a central idea, you have to go to the most generic statement. Usually this dependent and independent method will definitely get you to the starter of the sentence, but if it gives you 2 independent sentences, then go for the most generic statement which can start the paragraph, right? Third point, gravity of information and forming complementary pairs. Now is the time where you should start thinking in sentences. There your 5th point should come in handy. Alright, why? Because basic grammar like pronouns, articles, all this stuff will help you to connect various sentences. Alright, for example, in sentence 2, if it has been said in 1984 a person named Steve Jobs invented computer. If let's suppose this is the second sentence, so they have introduced this person Steve Jobs, and in the third sentence or say fourth sentence it has been said that he was a pioneer in the computing field. So this he refers to this Steve Jobs. Alright, so this pronoun has helped us to link this 2 and 4 sentence. So this order will be 2 and 4. Alright, this is what I mean by forming complementary pairs using basic grammar. Alright, these are also called as mandatory pairs. So in this case, it is 2 and 4 as a mandatory pair. All right, I hope you have understood this point also, right? Fourth one, use chronology of event. All right, chronology of event is very useful in some of the cases where you are not able to eliminate things, right? Things should always flow in a chronology. Like first the person will come, then he will sit, then he will go out. All right, so this is just an example. First, 1939 World War was declared. 1945 Hitler was killed. 1945 and Japan was bombed. All right, so you'll have an idea that these things happened first, so we're going to place them in that order only. All right, this is what we mean use of chronology as your tool, right? So let us see a live example of parajumble which appeared in CAT 2017, and this specific set was requested by a lot of students to take up in a video. All right, so students are finding it difficult but will decode it very easily. So let's get started with this set. So let us see this specific set. All right, we have to input the correct sequence in this box, which is also called as Theta Box. The implications of retelling Indian stories hence takes a new meaning or in a modern India. So this is hence over here. This means some sentence should come before it to make a complete meaning. Hence, this is a dependent. All right, I write D in front of it. The stories we tell reflect the world around us. I cannot make this a dependent sentence because even if we start with this sentence, it would make a complete sense. So I'll just write a I over here, right? We cannot help but retell the stories that we value. After all, they are never quite right for us in our time. Again, this cannot be our starting sentence because this is dependent on some or the other link that should come before. Alright, we cannot help but retell the stories that we value. Right? So this is also a dependent sentence. Statement 4, and even if we manage to get them quite right. Alright, so this first word only makes this a dependent one. As soon as we capture a story, the world we are trying to capture has changed. So if we let's suppose if we start with this sentence, will it make any sense? As soon as we capture a story, the world we are trying to capture has changed. There is no sentence amongst the above four sentences which can link and come after this, which has any connection, right? Hence, this is also a dependent sentence. So, which is the only independent sentence over here which has a very broad meaning as well as is most generic in nature? It is this sentence number 2. So, hence, 2 forms of first sentence. This is the first step. So, if you would have observed, sentence 3 over here focuses on retelling the stories that we value, and sentence 2 was introducing us about the stories that we tell. Hence, this introduction part gives to an edge to be the starter. Alright? And other sentences are naturally dependent sentences from the structure of their start as well. Now, you would argue that even sentence 5 could have been an opening sentence. Even if it is a dependent sentence at first glance, it can start. So, if you compare sentence 2 and sentence 5 closely, sentence 2 says the stories we tell reflect the world around us. Okay, the world around us. And sentence 5 says as soon as we capture a story, the world we were trying to capture has changed. So, this 5 should follow 2 and not the other way around. Hence, they both form a pair and 2 and 5 should come over here. So, any which ways, 5 was never our first sentence. Now, further, 3, 4, 1 should form a mandatory pair, a mandatory triplet pair. Why? We will see now. Have a look at sentence number 3. We cannot help but retell the stories that we value. After all, they are not quite right for us. Alright, mark this point. They are not quite right for us in our time. And now read sentence number 4. And even if we manage to get them quite right, so this phrase can be connected to this phrase and it is definitely coming after 3, right? Because first, they are never quite right. And fourth sentence says, and even if we manage to get them quite right, so naturally 3 and 4, right? Have a look at sentence number 1. The implications of retelling Indian stories hence takes on a new meaning in modern India. So basically what one is doing is it is concluding what has been mentioned in 3 and 4 and in fact the complete paragraph about retelling Indian stories which takes a new meaning. See, have a look at this word hence. This points out to conclusion. Alright. Hence, this is the sequence that you are looking for over here, 2 5 3 4 1. So you must have realized that using proper techniques and proper points, it is definitely possible to crack even the most trickiest of the parajumbles that appear in CAT examinations. Alright, so that's it in this video of CAT Concept Express series. I hope you liked the video. If you loved it, please like and subscribe and share it amongst your friends. Thank you and happy learning.